Here, I'm talking about backup on bluegrass banjo, and these are some very basic things. And the reason that I want to point these out as sort of the basics, as the foundation, is because a lot of times we jump into banjo playing, and if we, even if we Google search, okay, or YouTube search, backup banjo, you learn really fancy licks, which are good, but those are really good icing on the cake on top of some of these fundamentals. And a mistake that I see a lot of banjo players make in jams is they'll go on a limb and really reach for some of those harder things, when really the better choice that'll serve the jam a little bit better would be kind of backing off and playing some of these more basic things, just sort of to contribute to this boom chuck heartbeat of bluegrass kind of sound of the jam. So just a couple things. Like I said, the foundation of what you should be doing in a jam is going to be boom chuck. So technique number one is just going to be, I call it the chop pattern with your right hand. Most of you probably already know this, but it's you hit the third string with your thumb, and then you hit 1 and 2 together with your other two fingers. And again, this is the boom chuck. This is what a bluegrass jam needs people to be doing. So it's a really safe choice, and it's a good choice. It's going to sound good. You can do this over any chord, your C chord, your D chord, and then sometimes we play an A chord when we're playing in the key of D. So that's a really good choice. Now the next level of that is if you've already learned your closed chord positions, your major closed chord positions, like your F shape, or your D shape is another one, or a bar shape is another one. I like to kind of hang out in this F shape chord, if you know it, and hit the fourth string, except when I'm doing this chop pattern now, but still hitting 1 and 2, so it'll sound like. That's my G chord, and then if I slide that same position up to here, up to the 10th fret, that's the C chord. And the D chord, and then your A chord is right there. So that's a really nice sort of way to level up your boom chuck, and it just gives you a little bit of a tighter, cleaner sound. Another nice thing about that is you can control the sound a little bit, which brings me to sort of the next level, is if you can kind of chop off that chuck part of that and make it a little bit more rhythmic by, it's not so much lifting up your left hand as much as it's unfretting the left hand. So I'm going to kind of fret everything and do my boom, and then when I do my chuck, shortly after, I'm just kind of unfret, so everything's muted. It's kind of like I'm just laying my fingers on top of the strings, so they're muted now. And that just creates, it's a little bit of a tighter sound. It's a little less noisy than that rings, and all the notes are kind of stepping on each other's toes a little bit when I'm doing that. But if I can kind of chop it off, you'll hear Earl Scruggs do this a lot in his playing and his backup playing. That sort of thing. And we don't need to get too fancy and switch positions or anything like that. But if you can just boom chuck and cut off the sound a little bit, that's going to be a really great move, and you can do that. You can do that all the time in all the jams you ever go to, and that'll be a great sound for your banjo. You'll be contributing to the jam in a positive way. So chopping is one of the things you could be doing. We have choices as a banjo player, and a lot of times backup is pretty hard for us because we do have choices. More choices than some of the other instruments on what we can be doing at any time. But another option is rolling. It's a really good option. And you don't necessarily need to break out your fanciest rolls or your fanciest licks to make it sound really good. It's going to sound like really solid banjo playing if you can just take a simple roll and apply it over the chords at the correct times and in time. I'll talk more about the in time part of that in a second. So a great roll is the alternating roll. Some people call it the square roll or box roll. 3, 2, 5, 1, 4, 2, 5, 1. And that sounds like this. that in your fingers and play that all the time, that's a really, really great sounding roll, really tight sounding roll. It'll sound good in every jam situation. So again, if you can get that going, and if you're just going to choose one roll to do, that would be the go-to roll. Other rolls work. You could do a forward reverse roll. You could pretty much make any roll work. But that alternating roll is just a really, really solid choice as a backup roll. So as in terms of timing that, think about your beat right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I can find that beat, you're going to get that beat from the bass player if you're playing with a bass player, or from the booms of the guitar players, of their boom chucks. But you can find that beat by really listening to the music and hearing boom, 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 and just tap your foot along with that. My chop pattern that I talked about first is going to match up. You're going to do 2 notes per beat, and if I were counting that out, that would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. And so if I've got my beat here, my right hand is going to sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so those kind of, the booms are going to match the booms of the guitar players or the bass, and then the chucks are going to fit in there. They're going to match up with like the mandolin players and the strums of the guitar players in the band or the jam. When you're thinking about rolling, you're going to fit four notes per beat. So if you were to count this out, we use the sounds 1 E and if we wanted to be formal about it, 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and so you get all 4 of those syllables in. And so if I'm counting 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and that's what my roll is going to be doing. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E. That's a really solid way to play backup rhythm, and that kind of shows you how to line it up. So if you can get your foot tapping and really listen hard and get that foot tap, and practice at home tapping your foot and figuring out those different ways of subdividing it. So I've got my foot tap, chop pattern. Okay, I'm going to start rolling. Chop. Just go back and forth between, get really used to how those subdivide. And that's a pretty good primer. That'll get you playing some really good stuff, and that'll, once you get that automatic, that'll free you up to do other things that'll contribute to the jam, like singing harmony, and just in general engaging what's happening with the jam, as opposed to just sitting here focusing on playing the fanciest stuff you can think of, and not necessarily thinking about the greater good of the jam, making it sound good. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.